So let's begin with should I pre-frame before I screen share or should I screen share as I talk through this? Let me pre-frame before I screen share. Um, Something that I personally, and I think both of us, Amy as well, something we've been circling back to is this idea of kind of building from the start with the end in mind. And some terms that you might have heard us throw around on these masterclasses might be things like orchestration layers. I've said that a few times. So that's basically like a layer that you can sort of plug different agents and workflows into. Things around like the business plan, how you're building and structuring. We've started touching on code base a little bit. I've touched on database a little bit here and there, but we've not really gone like something specific and concrete saying this is the tried and tested way to build from the start with the right
Mm.
foundations so that as you build more and more things like AI agents and workflows and automations and systems and things that you can use within your business to produce specific results, how can you build it so that you don't end up with a big duct tape monstrous mess with everything all over the place and you don't really know how everything's connected and how it's all working.
Mhm.
And I could tell you that from again personal experience, I've done this completely backwards. Right? I've reverse engineered it to the point of getting to what I'm going to show you today, which was doing the duct tape mess completely from the start to kind of learn how to do everything, and then gradually work backwards to go, all right, how can I turn this absolute monster that I've built into something more tangible, understandable, scalable? How can I plug in different things into it so that they work together and communicate? And it's been like unpicking a completely tangled ball of cables or something like that. That's what it feels like. So now the cables are kind of getting in order. And now I'm going to show you, well, how do you start with everything in the right order? So when you build stuff, it works and it just makes sense.
I think that's so true for business owners though,
Mm,
because so even a coach, for example, I feel like they sell something, they might sell a lot of something,
mm.
and then they're like, oh crap, now I have like 8 calls a day and I have no time for lunch or something like that. Or like they're still selling so many courses, but they haven't created the courses yet. I feel like that's very relevant in any business.
Yeah, yeah, almost this thing of just failing forwards, figuring it out, and then eventually getting back to the point where you go full circle and you know what you're doing, and
Yeah.
then you can like do it again properly. So,
I think it's a good way to learn, and
mm.
hopefully what we're about to teach you today saves you some time down the road.
That is the idea. So let's go ahead and I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go into the first point, which is the business plan. Um, I'm going to use an example. So Amy and I started doing this again, it's just sort of going right back to the start, right back to the foundations. We started doing this for BWB.
Oh,
Yeah, don't worry. I'll sort of
let
circle
me,
back to.
should I take out my task?
No, don't worry about that. That's fine. That's all good.
Okay.
You can get the nice yellow bit. So yeah, we started doing this for very recently to redefine what's the vision for the business, where is it going, what is how do we want to essentially make the business look down the line? Like what's our vision together? Mostly yours, but I'm in the mix as well. What does that look like for the next 12 months? 24 months maybe. We don't tend to plan more than 12 to 24 months in advance, especially nowadays. Like things change so quickly in the landscape now with AI. So it's like, okay, 12-month plan, fine. Anyway, so defining where is it you're going? What do you want it to look like? Where are we at right now? Where's the gap between those two things? And what needs to be built to create the vision version of the business? That's basically what we're doing here. Now, I'm going to share with you guys, if you're watching the recording down below, I will share this business plan and I will share a template which you can download and use and copy like an empty framework for the business plan. But the thing that I want to draw your attention to is there's a very specific way that you can use this business plan as the single source of truth for every single thing that you build from here on out.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been working on this today. Amy doesn't know this either, so
No, this is great.
yeah.
Tell me more.
Tell you more. I will. So glad you asked. So there's something in Google Docs and Markdown files, which, by the way, you can always export a Google Doc. You can download it and download it as a Markdown file. These are the files that Claude Code communicates with itself via. So when you start building with Claude Code, you'll notice that all the text documents it saves are .md files. So you can literally just export any Google Doc into a .md. And Markdown is the structure, the formatting structure that we're looking at here. So in Markdown, you've got title, you've then got subheadings, so heading 2, and you've got heading, like other headings, if you use them, you'd have heading 2, heading 3, and so on and so forth, all right? So heading 3 and so on. And what that does in Google Docs is it creates this cool menu on the left-hand side. So you can easily navigate just by clicking. You see this? You can navigate to different sections. And it's split by the markdown tags. So a H2 markdown tag will show it at this level. A H3 tag will be nested within a H2. Do you see that? So you see it's indented basically. So that's a H3 tag. And then the other H2 is the same heading level, the same category level as the other H2s. Right, so H2 will be like a big heading, H3 will be subheadings, H4 will be sub-subheadings, and so on and so forth. The reason this is so important and the reason that this one feature is literally the backbone of the entire infrastructure for your code base is when you open a document in a markdown document. So this is in VS Code. We don't need to sort of go into the ins and outs of VS Code, but I'm just going to illustrate a point here. A H2 tag is defined by 2 pound signs or hashtags, right? So in Markdown language, 2 pound signs means H2. So in a Google Doc, when the text says 2 pound signs, the Google Doc will display it in Markdown format as the H2. And same with if I open it up, 3 pound signs is H3. And then if I open up any more, which I don't have any nested in there, but 3 opens to 4, so they're nested within the 3 pound signs, that's a H4. And so the relevance of this, and this will now become clear, is when you structure the headings and the subheadings of your business plan in this way, you can create in a single prompt. So I literally smashed this out in one prompt. I just said, take this template business plan and generate a React HTML visual map of the markdown format of this plan. And it's just spun up this instant dashboard. It's just on my local machine, but it allows me to begin understanding and navigating through the tags of the document, right? So I can go look at the H2 level, bang, there's the H2. Expand to H3. Okay, well now we've opened all the H3s within them, right? And you can go, oh, and I want to look at my marketing plan. What's the marketing plan doing? I'm specifically focusing on channels. Which channel am I focusing on? Social media, Instagram, my content strategy. Nested, 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 nested. You'll notice that this resembles a folder structure. For example, you could have Claude say, access my Google Drive and create a Google Drive folder structure that perfectly mirrors the Markdown format of my business plan. Why is this important? Well, because if you're structuring everything in this way, this becomes the single source of truth for AI to go, right, I need to complete, I've been given XYZ task by my human. I need to create Instagram content. In order to understand the context and the resources available and so on, I have this master plan, this 100,000 foot overview of the entire business. So it's got full context of everything that it can nest down to find the relevant context that it needs to complete its task. And that mirrors your Google Drive folder structure where all of your business assets might be stored. You can also structure a database. A database structure could mirror, again, your business plan structure. And the point of this is your business, right? You write out your business plan in this format. And for the record, I genuinely think this is the first time that actually doing a business plan really makes sense. You know, everyone here, you go to business class, you're like, oh, you need to have a business plan. You can launch a business without a business plan.
I have never had a business plan.
Right. Yeah. I've written them before, but honestly, every business I've launched it without a business plan. But now I'm like, look, this is the first time that doing a good business plan will literally make your life so much goddamn easier and will allow you to have AI agents built within this process to actually understand what they're doing within the bigger picture. And as you get more advanced and you start building, let's say, C-suite agents, like a marketing director agent that manages the marketing team that would have a
Mm.
brand agent, that would have social media marketing agents, and within them, they'll have workflows for your different channels that you market on, like one for
Mm.
Instagram, one for TikTok, and they've got their specific skills and guidelines that you've created within your code base, and it all refers back to your business plan. And if you want to change anything, you literally just update your business plan and boom, your entire code base, the single source of truth, the context is now it's there, it's done. All of your
Mm.
agents have it right there from the word go, right?
That's so cool because how many of you on the call are always referring back, like repeating yourself when you're talking with LLMs or agents that you've built?
Mm.
How many of you are like, oh, yeah, we've all been there. It's like, okay, feed it context again, feed it context again. Oh, the window closed down, my computer shut down, open it up, feed it context again.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is this kind of solves that problem, right?
This solves that problem and many more problems,
Yeah.
right?
But
Many
that I
more.
think that's the most relevant at the moment. I mean, unless someone's like building a whole company right now with a million agents.
Mm.
But I think like the most like valuable that I can see right now that's annoying me, like the most valuable information is that it saves me from constantly copying and pasting and throwing in folders into my Claude Code agent for
Mm.
context.
Exactly. So yeah, it definitely helps with that. Absolutely. And also from your perspective as the human, right? Because a major challenge that I found, and the first time I found this was with Betches Walking Betches,
Mm.
and again, it's this duct tape analogy. I started building agents to solve
Yeah,
problems in Betches, right? And you
that's
sat
a good
next to
point.
me, and like so many times, I'd be like, oh, fuck, how does that endpoint communicate with that agent? I can't remember how the data gets there. How is that agent finding out that information? And I made like
Yeah.
some duct tape connection. I don't know where it is. I don't know how it works. I'm digging through NAM workflows to try and
It's like
remember how it
I don't
pieces
scare
together.
anyone. Yeah, Dan's N8N workflows like it's like a CVS receipt for anyone who's ever gone to CVS. It just like keeps going and going and going. So he has insane N8N workflows all over the place. So please don't let this scare you from like
Mm,
N8N or building agents. Yeah, and Dan also is working with like 5 or 7 different businesses. But that's amazing. So I know for my business, we'll just stick with my one. I
yeah.
have an email agent named Megan. I have a text message agent named Ashley, and I have a phone call agent named Sarah. The reason we named them all three, we've mentioned this in the masterclass previously, is because if someone like a client who reaches out doesn't necessarily know that they're AI agents, they don't need to. Like it sounds like a real human voice, whoever they speak with, but they don't always have context. So if we named them all the same thing and a client reached out to this, the text message agent plus the voice message agent, and they didn't know what they were talking about, there would be kind of this like, are you an idiot? Like you don't remember? We just had this conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
So we named them all three because we were under the understanding that they like kind of wouldn't talk to each other. They knew obviously the context of the business, but they didn't have the context of each other. So this solves that problem too, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's one part of it. So,
It's a part of
so
it, yeah.
for sure. So, like context conversation, right? So again, this will go back to
Mhm.
database. Super base is what I'd recommend. As soon as you'll start
Mhm.
getting into database, Claude Code will be like, I'm going to build a database for you to help build this tool. Use Superbase. If it tries to get you to do anything else, just be like, use Superbase. It's free, it's awesome, it connects with absolutely everything, and all of your data across your entire business can be stored in one place. And again, this context problem that Amy just talked about, it's like you if there's a single source of truth and if agents all understand from your plan how to interact with it and how
Mhm.
it fits into the bigger picture, again, the context is
Mhm.
already there by default. It's like top-down filtering through a unified system that runs your entire business.
No worries, John.
No worries, mate. Catch the replay. Enjoy. Have a good one, buddy. Okay, so let's continue. So this is the format, this is the plan. Now, what will this enable you to get to? Well, when you write out a business plan in this way, what you can essentially do, or what you will essentially start doing by default, is you'll start mapping out the different parts of your business through department. And the reason it's so valuable to do it through department is because it basically ties to the customer journey, right? The customer journey sort of fits like
Mhm.
it templates over the top of the different departments of your business. So you'd have like the market analysis, competition, and that goes into the MVP offer creation stuff that we talked about. You have your products and services. So what is it that you are offering that solves the pain points of your target market? What result do your products and services help you create? Then marketing. How are you going to engage with your target market? How are you going to get eyeballs on your offer? Then obviously sales, then into operations and delivery, which is what we're talking about today. And again, structuring it in this way just means that as you're building a business, you're sequentially working through each part one by one. You're not really going to start solving operational problems if you've not closed a single deal yet. You need to focus on closing a deal. You're not going to focus on closing deals yet if you don't have any calls or sales opportunities. So you need to focus on marketing. And if you haven't even got an offer defined yet, there's no point in focusing on marketing because you don't know who you're talking to and you've not got a message. You need to define the offer. So you see it all like it all comes in order. You just work through it step by step.
It comes in order here?
It comes in order here and it comes in order of
Really?
what you spend your days doing, right? So market analysis first. What's your product and service? What is it you're doing to solve the offer? Then getting eyeballs, marketing. Then once you've got eyeballs, how do you start converting those eyeballs, sales? Then once you're starting to make sales, how do you deliver and fulfill that product?
Mm.
And then once you're doing this, how do you start building a team, that scale? How do you manage the cash flow of the business? That's finance. How do you retain customers? So now you're like, okay, I've got lots of customers, but now I'm getting churn. All right, now we need to solve churn. And then how do you really start pushing things to the next level? Where's your scale going to come from? And then you get like KPIs, analytics, database schema. It's kind of extra, but it goes through in order.
And what
So
is this software that you're using?
this is not software. So this is literally Google Chrome. And all I prompted in a single terminal instance, I pasted the MD file, the document that I showed you. I just literally dropped it the MD file for the business plan, and I said, use the markdown headings to generate a React HTML visual representation of this business plan, separated by the markdown headings. My objective is to be able to get an easy visual overview of the different sections with nested navigation through
And that
the
prompt will be in the resources.
I'll put it in the resources, don't worry. You don't have to remember that. And yeah, so it's just spun up this easy to navigate visual here. So what does this kind of granular overview allow you to do? Well, to show you something a little more, this is a lot more advanced, but again, I'm just highlighting a point of how you can start building an end-to-end system. So when you build your first agent and you build it in line with the business plan, right, that you've already created, think of it like plugging in one little agent that solves one specific problem for one part of the process. Right, so you build your first agent, you're like, awesome, I've made a LinkedIn content generation agent, or awesome, like Denise, I've made a call recording agent that transcribes my Zoom recordings and saves them within my business for me to generate content from. All right, cool, you got your first agent.
Mm.
Now, as you build more and more and more, again, you'll start getting to the point where you're like, okay, I've got all these agents, but how do I make them communicate with each other? Well, if you've structured things in the way that I've shown you, you can again build dashboards that's built on top of the business structure that you've created, and you can prompt Claude Code to give you visual overviews of workflows and agents and how they communicate and how data flows between them to create something like this. And this is for my personalized email outreach system. All right, so I have a map here of every agent, every little workflow that operates within this process, how they're connected, what's dependent on what. So that means things have to happen first higher up the chain before things further down the chain can happen. And then I can generate from that things like visual overviews of my data enrichment. So when this loads in a second, you'll see like a sort of waterfall graph. It takes a moment because it's got to call a bunch of APIs. Oh, now I'm going to get an error for some reason. But you can basically, here we go. So you'll see, I can see out of all of my records that I target with email outreach, how enriched are they? Which ones still have gaps in the data? I can run my agents from here. So I can literally just run one of the agents that fits within the process from here. And the only reason that I could build this dashboard is because I got to the point of being able to define how does the back end, like how is the infrastructure all connected? How do they communicate? How does data flow through them? And Claude can do that for you by following the map that you've created, which is your business plan. And what you can also do, and this is again the next stage that I'm getting to, because we've been talking about like I want to have basically an AI, like we've discovered something called paperclip. We're not going to go through it on this call, but
Mm.
it could be a good test. But basically, have one master coordinator AI, Claude Code, look at the entire plan, develop a what's called a PRD to then stage by stage work through the business to generate agents to solve each specific part within the bigger picture, and then just have all of
Mhm.
them run to fulfill most of the customer journey. There's still going to be human parts in there. But again, if you've got the plan and you know how it all
Mhm.
connects, you can have AI agents understand the context to be able to do it without you having to
Mhm.
understand every technical developer thing to try and link everything yourself with endpoints and, database and
So
so on.
I have a question. So I know for me as an entrepreneur, my if I would have made a business plan day one, it would have looked totally different in a week,
Mm.
in a month, in 6 months. Like my niche changed, my target audience obviously changed because of the niche. My branding changed after a couple years when I rebranded. So how easy is it once someone builds something like this, to update the business plan?
That is a fantastic question, Amy. So the when you're doing it through this master MD file, one of the first agents you might create, and I have ones like this, is every day an agent will review the MD file once a day on a schedule,
Mm.
and it will check if there's been updates that have been made.
Mm.
Now, when updates have been made, you will tell this agent that what it needs to do is create a report of the tasks that need to be passed to other agents within your process to keep them updated because strategy's changed or pivoted or whatever. You can do that on the schedule. You can also do it as like
Mhm.
an automated thing. Like when you update your MD file, that automatically triggers the orchestration agent to then go and to provide a report for you to
Mhm.
click yes or no to authorize the changes, or go through them one by one, like you decide, however you want to do it. And that then will make sure that your entire code base stays up to date with what you as the human have said the plan is for the business. Right?
Mhm.
You can change it immediately. If you don't have that kind of master structure, you change your business plan, which like again, I've done like probably 4 times. I'm like, right, now that changes everything. Now I've got to go through my entire, like every single agent, think about how they're all connected, think about what needs to change, think about what workflows are redundant
Yeah.
now, rebuild stuff. It's like a
This could
nightmare,
have saved you so much time if you had
like
this.
weeks.
Michelle has her hand raised. Michelle, go ahead. What's your
Yeah, yeah,
question?
what you got?
I mean, week two of joining you guys, and my brain is like the WhatsApp emoji. It's like popping out of my head right now. So I'm trying to like dummy it down. So
Yeah.
an agent is just an AI workflow. So you're talking about different workflows that do stuff with each other. Like, dumb it down for me, please, to the very minimum.
Sure. So when you get in, I'm trying to remember, did you have a try with Claude Code yet or not yet? Claude Code
I
specifically.
think it wouldn't work on our laptop,
No,
is the
my
I
laptop. Yeah.
but we can even think of a GPT as an agent. We can because she's familiar with ChatGPT. So we could talk about that
Yeah, so that's a good point. We'll talk about GPT in like as a concept.
as a concept, yeah.
Yeah, so the challenge in a technical perspective, it's on a open AI servers and it's harder to plug them in and out of stuff. But for the concept, it will make sense, right? So you
Yeah.
create a custom GPT to do a specific thing. So it'll be like a branding GPT that will help you define your brand, or like a content writing GPT that will analyze your content based on your tone of voice or something like that.
And this isn't for like one-off questions. Like you wouldn't do a chat you wouldn't create a GPT to just ask about the weather or something like that. Or like, I don't know, like quiz questions or something. This is like repeatable things where you would want the GPT or the agent, I'm going to use this synonymously here,
Hmm.
to have context so that when you ask it again, it knows kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is a great point. Repeatable. That's probably one of the
Okay.
biggest words that would define whether you should be just using an LLM to just ask a question or whether you should be
Mhm.
doing something either with Claude Code or Claude Cowork
Mhm.
to run tasks. So, but if you
And
imagine it like a GPT, so like think of if you had let's say 3 GPTs, for example, 3 custom GPTs, and imagine them like nodes in a sequence, right? So just like One's there, one's there, one's there. So imagine that something was saying, okay, to create content for this business, we're first of all going to call the content idea GPT. It's going to come up with ideas, and then that GPT will pass it back up the chain to the thing that called it. Then it will go, okay, now we've got ideas. Now we've got to take that idea to the content writing GPT, send it down. The GPT writes it, sends it back up, and then it goes, right, now we got content. We need to go to the image generating GPT. So that's going to go down. It's going to generate an image based on the content, back up. And then it's going to go, right, now we got the content. Now we're going to post it to Instagram. So we need to go to the scheduler GPT that schedules posts and then posts them on Instagram. Boop, done, right? So that would be an example of essentially an agent workflow where each GPT has a specific job within the process, right? They do one thing. Do not make agents that do multiple things. That's going to become they'll get confused, they mess stuff up, it just
It's
doesn't
the same
work.
as an employee. I mean, if you hire an employee for your business, but you give them three completely different tasks, it cannot excel in all three. Michelle, you had another question too.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so is that I'm getting confused with like Claude Skills, Claude Code, Claude Cowork, like agents, like is that all the same? Is like a skill essentially is also a repeatable thing, right?
Yes. So let's touch on that let's just touch on that for like 5 minutes or so, because I think this is quite important.
Yeah, it is important.
Yes. So when you start using the way Claude Code works, and then let me define the difference between Claude Cowork, and Claude Code. In fact, do you want to do it? Because this is your thing. You said this very well. Yeah,
I think I said this last week.
Yeah, go on. This is your thing.
Stop me if you've already heard this, Michelle. So Claude Chat, we're going to talk in the ecosystem of Claude because there's other LLMs out there like ChatGPT, and they don't have the exact same like framework. And Claude is what we use every day. So Claude Chat tells you how to do things, but it doesn't actually touch things on your computer. So it cannot log in as you, it cannot touch your folders, it can't see anything. All it can do is you can ask it a question and you can provide it context and it can remember context, but it can't do anything for you. Claude Cowork, I've used it on my browser. So I connected to my browser and I'm like, hey, do these things. The problem is it goes in the front door. So it does things that the humans would otherwise do. It doesn't go like kind of on the back end. It doesn't do the ones and zeros. It goes through the human's front door, which means it's a bit slower. So it'll pull up the browser, you can see it scrolling, you can see it do things, and then it will like it translates it back into information on the back end that it understands, and then back to English so that we can understand it, or whatever language that you have it in, and then it spits out the information.
Doing, right?
Yes, it does stuff for you. Yes, it like reads information or whatever you want to do. I had it reorganize some Google Photos and like pull information data. Claude Code, there's two different ways to get there. One is through the Claude ecosystem, like an app on your Mac. Oh, we can share our screen now. The second way to get to Claude Code is in something called Terminal. Terminal is usually used by coders, and it talks in ones and zeros, and it uses what I consider the backdoor. It talks to other computers and other files in a way that is much more efficient than the way humans use the language. So this is what Dan is referring to. So this is just an app. It's called Claude, and it has these three things on here. Claude Code here is the same as Terminal. It just looks different.
I have 9 open. This looks terrifying. Let me just one terminal. There you go. Yeah. So in a nutshell, yeah, too terrifying. So as Amy says, in a nutshell, yeah, Claude Chat can't do. It can answer questions. Claude Cowork is for doing, like it will do human tasks, like on your browser. And Claude Code is for building things, right? Yeah. Building systems, building workflows, skills, stuff that persists in your code base. So just remember that if you want to do something just once, like log into your system and get a bunch of data or whatever, Claude Code works great. And if you want to build something for a repeatable task that happens again and again and again, then that's what you want Claude Code for.
I used Claude Cowork today, even though I'm using Claude Code. I used Claude Cowork because it's a one-off. I wanted them to scrape information from my LinkedIn and get back to me and like create a document that said this information. But I'll probably never have to do that again because all it did was scrape LinkedIn. So unless you're building a repeatable workflow that you would want an employee to do over and over and over and over again, you're going to want to use Claude Code because you're going to want to build a workflow for that. You're going to want to train
But
and
I thought if you do the skills, it does that also, or no?
Let me touch on skills.
yeah.
So within Claude Code specifically, a skill is basically a set of instructions that tells Claude Code how to do something, right?
Right.
So again, think of it like a custom GPT, kind of. It's pretty similar to a custom GPT in some ways.
Yeah.
And so what I would often do is like if I'm using Claude Code to like do something or build something for the first time, and then then it does it successfully, I would then finish by saying, okay, now turn this into a skill so that next time I want to perform this same task, you can just call the skill and it will just do it again. Right. So it's a custom set of instructions. And again, it's saved as an MD file. It's like a document. You can read it as a human, right? It's literally just a document that says what it does to complete this particular skill, kind of like a custom GPT. So when you build applications, so like the dashboard that I showed you, like this one here, which again, it looks like there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different tabs, a lot of different things, right? There's a lot of stuff. Now, to get to this point, like I started with one thing and then I just built more things on top of it as I needed them, right, for my email outreach system. But all a dashboard like this really is code in files. And those files live in folders. And so when Claude Code builds things, you're basically just giving it a folder on your computer and you're saying build stuff in this folder and it writes code, and that code is then what's used to build user interfaces, dashboards, CRMs. That code is used to run automations, so connecting to other systems via API and like doing stuff, getting data out, like manipulating that data, then putting the data to other things, which is like an N8N workflow. So an N8N workflow is just a visual, like basically step-by-step process of it doing that, but Claude Code will build it itself in code files. And so just remember two things when you start working with Claude Code, and it's honestly now it's not as daunting as it sounds. Like it's got the word code in the name, and you're like, oh, no, I don't know. You don't need
And it
to know
looks
code.
kind of ugly.
Yeah, but you start working in it. You just write. You just ask like typing like you would type your LLM. You're like, I want to do this. I don't know how to do it. Help me understand. And it will define a project. It will ask you questions about what you're trying to achieve, and then it will build it for you, right? So two things to remember. Number one, skills. If it's something that you're going to want to do again, save it as a skill, and it will save it in its /skills folder in the folder you've given it access to. And number two, the folder and the code that lives in the folder is really all anything you ever build is just code files in a folder. That's it. And so even when you push stuff online and we talk about things like VPS, and if you ever hear GitHub thrown around, which Claude will tell you about, and you know, when you get into database and schemas and all this very technical, scary sounding language, all it really is just code files that either live on your computer, or if it's something hosted online, it will then push that code to somewhere online so that a dashboard will live in the cloud. So even when your computer's off, you can still access the dashboard, right? It's just code files. That's it.
So to close the loop, skills are not the same as what you were talking about with agents right now. They're doing similar things, but they're not the same.
An agent, there's a slight difference in some ways, but really in a nutshell, an agent is pretty much a skill. A skill and an agent are very similar. The only difference really is that an agent can call multiple skills. So you might have a content creation agent. The agent itself is basically a skill file, and the skill file basically says you have access to these 5 skills to complete your content creation task. That's all. It's just like another level above.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have an agent, it's like a social media type agent that I'm building. and it has the folders within it. It has like all of the logo variations, all of the brand topography, but I don't have a skill called topography. I don't have a skill called find the logo. It's just, it kind of like is all encompassing. It has all of these things and it can pull skills. And so it's kind of like an employee has access
Right.
to all these resources and then access to all these skills.
Mm. And this is why,
And then
again,
you build the agent through that list that you were just saying, through the business plan? No.
you can do this. This is
This
the
is
point
new.
of,
Okay.
yeah.
This is brand new information. I didn't even know this.
Yeah, so this is a
Okay.
point that I was going to sort of close this entire loop with. And again, it's don't worry too much about trying to do it right now. Like it's a little complicated, but just understand that there it will come a point when you start doing this and just trying stuff. You're like, I'm just going to try and build a little agent that does this one task that I hate doing. Just
Yes.
going to
Start
automate it.
small.
Start small.
Start small.
Things will start clicking, it will start making sense. And then
Okay.
before long, you'll start to go, oh, okay, I've got 5 content skills. Now I'm going to make an agent that can use those skills to do my content. And then you're like, I've got a content agent. Now I'm going to try and make a sales script, like prospecting agent or something like just, pick an example. You might make your second one. Then you're like, okay, they're like 2 team members that I've now created within my business. So to kind of go to where this eventually leads, if you use this business plan structure, is you can have agents access that plan, follow a part of the plan to build more agents, run those agents, and then continue building out more agents. And you can build agents that test things, that search for bugs and errors, that do feedback loops. You can build agents like anything you can imagine. You can literally, if you have that plan, you can say, hey, I want to move on to the sales part of my plan, and I need to build the first 3 agents within the sub menu for this thing in sales. I want to build those. Go ahead and build them. And the plan has all the context it needs, your brand, your tone of voice, your messaging, your offer, everything it would ever need to understand your business is already in there. That's the beauty of having it. And you use this one MD file, you never have to repeat context again. It's all in the same place. And again, one quick final point in this, and you can bake if you're building multiple agents out of your business plan, you just bake in rules to what's called your Claude.md. It's like the master file within the folder you've got Claude working with him. It's basically Claude's instructions for how should it operate within this workspace. And one of your rules might be whenever you finish creating a skill, you're going to update the business plan with one line to say this skill has been created and it can be found here. Right. And so everything that's created, you just create these feedback loops that keep everything automatically updated. So the next Claude session already knows, it's all been built. Like it knows where it's at. Where's the next thing that's not been built? Right. So it's why the
So what
plan's so
you're
important.
saying is instead of creating all these separate document like context and brand of voice, whatever, create this one business plan, keep it all in there, and then keep working from there.
Exactly. That's
Because
exactly.
that's helpful. Because like I was going to start creating these separate documents, but if you're saying this is better now, then I'll just start making that one and
Yeah.
do that. Okay.
Yeah, do it
Okay.
that way. It'll save you so much time and energy and effort. And again, the navigation, like if at the top of that document or even in the, tell Claude, I want to have an index of my full business plan. Like if it ends up being a lot of context, you might not want to load the whole thing into every session because it will eat up your token usage. But if you just say to Claude, create a simple index, and it might look like kind of look like this one here, right? So the index might not be the actual content that's within each one, but it might just be the headings up to like H3 or something.
Right.
And so the Claude.md might say, when you're given a task, you're going to start by reviewing the index and then loading only the context that you need for the relevant department you're working within, right? So don't go and load all the sales and operations context if you're working in marketing. You don't need it. You just need the brand.
Right.
Right? So it just keeps the context window light by using the index to then go and find the stuff it needs within the full context.
Okay. And just one more thing on the memory stuff. When you ask it a question, it does remember that kind of stuff, but it doesn't remember like context of your business and all of that. Am I getting that right?
Ask that
Or
again, Rachel. Sorry.
So like when you ask it a few things in just Claude Chat, right? Like it'll
Mhm.
remember those. But where's the memory issue? Because I've heard you talk about that multiple times that we're trying to solve here. Like what does it not remember, or at which point does it, I guess,
Yeah, so let me, I think
miss?
you have an answer, but let me quickly touch on this as well. So from a technical perspective, when you start a new session in Claude Code, there's
Mm-hmm.
no context in the context window. So there's zero tokens, it's empty. So if you set Claude Code working in a specific folder, so let's say you're using the desktop app, you're in Claude Code,
Yeah.
down, let me get everything out of the way. There we go. So down here, you would just choose the folder you want it to work within, right? So like I want
Right.
it to work within, for example, this folder, right? So bang, open.
Mm-hmm.
It's now in that folder. So whatever's in that folder, it can now have access to. So you're controlling the context. When you just chat with Claude as the LLM, you have some control. So you can go into specific projects and you can go, okay, I'm going to do my content project or my project for this client I'm working on or project for here. And that's got project specific context. So we can look at the stuff in there. And you've also got global level context that it will learn about like who you are over time and so on and so forth. And that's when we first spoke, Michelle, you were saying, how do I get my chat GPT memory across to Claude? So you've got this global context. So that is there. But yeah, in Claude Code, you're basically creating your own context within the folder that Claude is working within.
Right.
Okay.
Every single time because it doesn't look at other Claude Code sessions. It
Correct.
starts
Unless you tell it to. And
right.
side note, is a more technical. We're not going to go through it and don't start trying to do this yet, but you can hook up terminal sessions. That's literally a brand new feature that Claude has released.
Oh, wow.
You might hear about that. So they can actually start talking to each other, but don't just start in one folder and go from there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No worries.
And then,
Good
sorry,
luck.
actually, one last thing with the whole token thing. If you pay $20, you still have tokens, or do you like, does that fall away?
If you pay $20, do you still have tokens? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
for that
Does it
$20
take it?
membership.
Oh, okay.
Those tokens, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll notice if
You
you pay
pay for the
$20,
usage. You pay for the usage.
yeah, so you'll have a limit of how much you can use,
Yeah.
and there's two limits. So one is a 5 hour limit, and then the other one is a weekly limit. So you might max out your 5 hour limit, and you've got to wait till like 1
You
p.m.
can
or
always
something.
see how much you've used as well. You can ask Claude, like, how much usage do I have left? And you can also see it through your like settings and usage. There's
Yeah.
settings and then usage, I think is what it's called. So you can always view your usage. Um, this has been a topic of conversation. I think like for you just starting out, Michelle, I feel like you'll be fine on the $20 a month one, or even maybe
Mm,
the free version. You'll know, like once you start picking up, it starts ramping up, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm running out every 5 hours of usage.
Yeah.
Then you'll know if you need to upgrade and make some adjustments. I just upgraded to the $100 a month one, but I'm having it do some like a lot of stuff for me. I'm like building a QA agent for my website. I'm building like a hiring agent for my team. So you don't need to stress about that right now. But yes,
So
to
cool.
answer your question, there is a limit. The
Just,
limit does exist.
just on that note, how quickly, Amy, have you gone from zero to like building multiple agents and building your
Oh yeah,
website?
Ace was quicker than me. She did it in like 48 hours.
There you
But
go.
yeah, I probably took 2 weeks, and now I'm building my own agents with my own skills. Um, I think it does require having a mindset of something that I like to like I'm pretty good at, and I think other entrepreneurs are as well, is like I'll do something and I'll know immediately if this is something that I'm gonna do again. And if it is, I immediately tell it to make a skill. I
Yeah.
immediately write out step by step, I write out the human steps and feed it context. There's some trial and error, obviously, but I think getting really good at deciphering, is this a one-off or is this something I'm
yeah.
probably going to ask it again? It'll save you a lot of time creating those skills.
Yeah, and a kind of
Mm,
a sort of extension of that, you've just made me think of something which I think is super relevant. One of the most valuable skills that we as a human can develop to get a lot out of AI is to get really good at being clear about what it is that we want. right? So this is
Mm.
So
something,
true.
yeah, this is something, especially when you're getting Claude Code, the more things are open to ambiguity or open to interpretation, the more you can kind of deviate or go off on a bit of a tangent, right?
Mm.
And there's a couple of layers to this. So one is the developer side. Like obviously an advantage developers have is they understand system architecture, they understand infrastructure, they understand the technical language. So a developer
Yeah.
might say, build this in Tailwind CSS using Next.js, and for the database schema, use Superbase on the back end in SQL. And we'll be like, what the hell is that language? Like, what does that even mean? And so
Yeah.
Claude will go, okay, cool, I'll build this architecture. Blah, 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 blah. It just does it from the word go. We as like, if you're coming from complete non-development, you're like, I want to build a system that shows me how to, when I need to speak to my customers and follow up with sales appointments. Right. Okay, cool. It's like it's good enough now to go, you need a CRM, and this is how CRMs typically look. And I'd recommend this structure. Do you want to go with it? And you're like, you're saying like, fine, yeah, go. Right. But when not just the technical side, but also just being clear in instructions. So certain things have certain languages that are used to describe them. So for example, in website, the language is HTML or CSS. Doesn't mean you need to go and learn CSS, doesn't mean you need to learn HTML, but instead of saying something like move the image so that my face is in the middle, if you were going to communicate in CSS, you might say something like anchor the page to the top margin. So that again, you're not writing in CSS, but you're just describing it in the way CSS works. That
I need to fix that.
this is
I
is a good example. It's a learning curve, right? And so, you know, what will happen? You've experienced this. You'd be like, why isn't it like I'm telling it what I want, but it's not understanding. It keeps not doing it the right way.
yeah.
And understanding just a little bit to be able to go, oh, okay, this is how to communicate through website language. You anchor the image to the top margin. I know that that's going to do a certain thing to the image, and that's what I want. Same with videography, right? If you're, for example, using AI for, let's say, generating videos through Cdance or Kling or VO3 or something like that, there's a videography language. So instead of saying make the camera look to the left, you might say something like pan 90 degrees with a yaw of 40 degrees or whatever. Like you don't need to go that technical, but the point is that there's a language that videographers or filmmakers might use to make to describe certain shots. And so if you're one thing I'd say is if you're having trouble getting Claude to do what you say to do, then you can actually get around it quite a lot by just adding one prompt into the middle. Just literally go to Claude LLM and say, I'm trying to get Claude Code to do this thing, but I don't know how to explain it in videography language, or I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain it in website. Write me a prompt in CSS style to tell Claude what to do, and then just drop that in.
I will tell you, this is where people give up. This is
Yeah.
where people give up. They try it and they're
Yeah.
like, it doesn't work for me. It's stupid. It doesn't know what I'm saying. It doesn't understand. Um, don't give up. Keep trying.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same with anything. It's a different
Yeah.
language, needs some tweaking and refining, and you'll get there. Don't give up. Just ask Claude or ChatGPT or whatever LLM. I'm trying to do this. What language should I use? Or I love saying refine this prompt
Yeah.
and then blah blah blah. I paste it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is 9 o'clock now. How are we feeling with the fulfillment discussion?
Let's see. We've covered the bulk of it. I wanted to show you that framework and that structure and that business plan. We could whiz through a quick example of to really make there's another angle that I want to cover about this point of being clear about what you want, especially when you're building agents. And I want to use the BWB business plan. But is there any of you got any more questions? Michelle, Denise?
Chats. Yes, thank you,
So,
Ben. Denise, what is a good first agent to build when just starting out? I'm literally starting. This is a great question. I'm literally starting a business from
yeah.
zero as a newbie to building a business.
Perfect question. So what we have always advised, and I think we'll continue to advise, is that you look at what are you doing every day in your business, right? So take a typical week. What are the tasks that you're doing? You look at what are you spending a lot of time on? what's frustrating, what's annoying, what would you rather not be doing. You're looking at things that are repetitive, manual, moving information between systems, copy pasting, writing stuff to ChatGPT or Claude and then pasting it and doing the same prompt, like anything where you're just doing the same stuff again and again and again. That is a really good place to start learning how to build simple automations. And we used to advise that as an entryway for NAN. So that was the automation builder. Now it's like Claude Code is rapidly replacing most use cases of NAN. And I'm even sort of advising people now, don't bother with NAN, just go to Claude Code. Because that technical gap, I was speaking to Joe Shea about this today, actually, that technical gap is just getting like smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's only going to keep getting smaller over the next 3 to 6 months. So simple automation, great place to start. Just have it do one little thing. And you've done some of these, haven't you? What's your
Yeah.
experience been?
Yeah, so there's a lot of use case scenarios. So for example, again, it's like something that you're doing every day that's repeated. If you're a brand new business, start with like the market research, the niche, who you want to serve. If you're not quite there yet of completing tasks, that means there's kind of some like pre-framework that you might need. Whether it's a business name or whatever it is. You'll know once you'll start repeating things over and over and over and over again. For example, blog writing. Maybe you want to write blogs and you want AI to help you out with that. That might be a weekly blog or a monthly blog. And so you might create a blog agent, for example, that's writing context related to you. So you don't have to just keep giving context or feeding it in, or this week I want to talk about this and write it in this style. This is the style that I like. And so you tell us, drop in the chat, what are some use case scenarios for your very first agent, regardless of where you are in your business?
Yeah, so there's another thing as well. Let me show you something here. So as an extension of that, when you start writing your business plan, and when you start getting, in fact, before I share that, let me explain. When you start writing your business plan and when you start really breaking down what are you doing at each step of the process, right? If you can begin to define the human workflow, this is something we talked about a lot over the masterclasses. When you can define the human workflow into individual step-by-step chunks, like what do you do? Like literally click by click. I go into ChatGPT and I paste this prompt that I use all the time for content. And then I copy that prompt and I put it in my spreadsheet. And then I come up with 5 ideas for headlines. And then I go with the headlines, I do this thing and I go to here and blah, blah, blah. Right? If you can define a human workflow, really bite-sized individual steps, you can then look at that and go, oh, okay, I need to automate that into that, into that, into that, into that. Until you define the human workflow with that real granularity and literally like track it. Next time you do the task, go, all right, I'm going to literally record every step that I do as part of doing this task today. And when you can record all the steps as the human workflow, you can then pass that to Claude and say, here's what needs to happen step by step, automate it. Okay. And so the way that might look is, so I did this when I was first building my, so the email onboarding agent workflow. So what was essentially happening was I had built standalone agents that would actually doing all of these things, but they were standalone and I had to run them. So imagine, for example, again, I showed you this one here, architecture. So like imagine this, but I was doing each of these myself, right? So, oh, that one's done, right? Now I need to do this one manually. I'll run that. Now I need to do that manually, run that, right? It's all these interconnected points. But what I then did is I was like, okay, I need to break down the process, what's actually happening, so I can start to string these together and begin to automate the entire process. And so I literally wrote down the entire process, bam, 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 bam. You see it here, like every single little thing that happened within that entire process. And when I wrote it down like that, I just knocked it off one by one. I was like, right, now I need to build an agent that does the client onboarding part. Bang, done. Now I need to build an agent that does the market research part. Bang, done. What's the next bit? And you go even more granular. If you're like, I don't know how to do a market research agent. Okay, well, what happens when you do market research? What do you type on Google? What are you looking for? What then happens? What resources do you access? Like just keep breaking it down until you can't break it down anymore.
I start with the most annoying thing that I hate doing every day. That's what I start with because I don't want to do those things anymore.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
I feel annoyed and then I lean into that. I'm like, what can I build for my annoyance? Denise, I guess I need a business coach. Can you define that? Can you clarify what you mean by that? You need a business coach?
I need AI to coach me to know how to do business. I've never had a business course or like any education in it. So I'm like literally like taking it as I go.
Perfect.
So you just want like a mirror or feedback. That's perfect. And
Yeah,
I think the way you're
like
using it
creating
is
a coach. And then I
yeah.
need the whole business plan, however that works for me. And yeah, I think like the content, like thinking about what content to create, I feel like takes all the energy from me. And then I
Mm.
have like nothing for any execution creation.
Yeah.
Got it. In that case, when I'm doing something like this, right? So I'm like, I don't know how to do a business plan. I've got to try and figure it out, but I want AI to help me. I literally just go into an LLM like Claude, put it in research mode, and I would use, if you're on the free tier or $20, use Sonnet 4.6. Don't try and use Opus. It'll burn through your tokens like wildfire. But when it's in research mode, you would basically say, go out and perform extensive research online about how to write a world-class business plan for my industry, like coaching in XYZ, whatever, right? So define your industry. And what it will then do is it will go away. It will take about 9, 10, 15 minutes and it will research. Normally it's about 400 to 500 sources online, and it will go and find out all sorts of information from some of the most like high traffic, most highly ranked sites, resources, forums, and so on about how to write a world-class business plan. And it will give you a PDF report with all those instructions. Then you can, number one, you can read that report yourself to learn how to do it, useful skill. Number two, you just download it and then you drop it into Claude Code and say, I want you to handhold me through this process of writing a business plan. Ask me the questions that you need to understand about my business in order to complete a business plan following this framework. Right. So the research, the market research, go get the info from the internet. That's your context, and then have Claude use that context to guide you through it.
I will say another part is I feel like when I talk with a lot of entrepreneurs, they never actually start or launch anything because they are stuck in the market research phase. And I think as a business owner, you just got to try. Like start something, start somewhere. If it's not the exact niche, switch it and tweak it in a month. If it's not the exact niche, it doesn't really feel right, switch it and tweak it in a month. I think there's a lot of tweaking and I'm always tweaking. That sounds like a weird sentence. I'm always changing things, refining, I'm pivoting. And I think as a business owner, embracing that and making decisive decisions. So pick something that you like to do, pick a niche or whatever. And then like what Dan said, ask questions and have Claude ask you questions. Claude is your business coach. You don't necessarily need to spend time, I think, creating a business coach agent, maybe a GPT or whatever. But I think like mirroring that back and then picking what it says and moving forward to the next point. Mirroring, seeing what it says, picking a point and moving forward. Do not wait until it is perfect. I'm telling you, it will change probably.
Yeah.
Just start somewhere. Take action somewhere.
Yeah.
I built the bridge as I went across it, and I think most successful entrepreneurs that I look up to did the same thing.
Yeah. Agree. You just try something, figure out how fail falls. And Denise, I know you've just got the Perplexity market research workflow and the offer creation docs and
yes,
ICP docs. So
that's why I paid for it, because like if I start building this now and do it all by myself, I'm gonna be in this for like months.
yeah, no, that's it's fine. Like those kind of use cases, you go, right, I don't know where to start. I'm not going to build this myself because I'm not building 17 businesses. I just want this for my business. And then those documents that you've now got, awesome context again for you to feed into Claude. Be like, this is the type of business I'm trying to create. This is a 30-page research document on the market that I'm looking to target. These are some ideas for offers. I like this one and this one. Here's the research for a business plan that I've just gathered from on my Claude LLM doing the research task. This is all the context, and I want to help. I want to have you help me build a business. So yeah, great work. You've got the resources, and just
That's perfect. And the next step is picking something that you like out of this paragraph and this paragraph and this paragraph, and seeing how it feels.
Yeah,